Alright everyone, so right now in our class we have to get our first program up and running, and a lot of you are struggling and I did too. So we're going to look at a few things and we're going to figure out how to get things rolling for you, hopefully. So our professor here has left us this MASM tutorial, and if you follow the link it brings you to this page. Now if you follow the instructions that are given to us, we have to go to the GitHub project page and we have to download the Irvine.zip here, and we have to download this if we're running on 2022. Most of us should be. I don't think anybody is using VS2019 anymore, but if you are, awesome, good for you. I think it has a few more features like in it that make it a little bit better, but that's not the most important part. So if you follow the steps that we're supposed to, somewhere in our announcements, I do believe the professor said to make sure that the Irvine.zip is downloaded to our C drive directly. Now this is very important. Do make sure you follow this little block of instructions here. You need to make sure that ml.exe is in your Video Studio installation directory. If you haven't, I say go through, try to figure out where it is, make sure that you have this. Alright. In here we have top of this document, etc., etc. This is telling you directly to your C drive. It's very important where we place our files. You're going to find out that file structure is very important with machine assembly language, because we don't want our computer to have to look very far away from the C drive, because we're talking directly to the computer with this language. At least that's my interpretation. Okay. Follow a few more prompts, go through the list, make sure you're doing all this stuff. Opening a project, they're going to walk you through that. But this line right here, in the future you can use this file as a starting point to create new programs by copying it and renaming the copy in the Solution Explorer window. I'll show you how to do that in a moment, but please, please, please understand that when you download the Project 32 VS2022 folder, the add to .asm file is a working project. And because it is a working project, you don't have to go through the trouble of linking a whole bunch of extra crap. By making a copy of that file and then renaming it inside of the folder that you're currently working in, you'll know that it will build, which is very important. Okay? You follow here to Irvine. This is the earlier link that I showed you at the top of the page here. And you're going to want Irvine.zip. You may have to turn off your security in order to download this. And you're going to want to go here, Project 32 VS2022. These two items you can download directly. Irvine, for some reason, has your security and firewall will look at this and say, well, it's ugly and it has some kind of malware inside of it. I don't know why, but you have to turn off your security to download it and unzip it. Alright. Now, assuming everything is going as planned, you're going to have your Irvine.zip and you're going to have Project 32 VS2022. If you don't know how to do it, right click and say extract all, and it'll ask you to select a location, and you're going to want to scroll down to the bottom, this PC local disk C, and you're just going to click this to select it, say select folder, and it'll unzip directly in there. As you can see, I've already done it, so I'm not going to do it a second time. Now, as I was saying earlier, file structure is very important, so I'm going to go back here and show you a little bit about how I have it set up. So if we go into our Irvine folder inside of our local disk drive, go in again. After I've downloaded Project 32 VS2022, I set it inside this folder. I'm not creating new folders for this class. I know that inside of Project 32 I have a working file. This b32.asm is also a working blank file. I haven't tried to mess with it yet, but it should get the job done when we open it or add it to our VS2022. It should be a buildable, compilable program. Alright, but you can see that I have added inside of there, inside of Project 32 VS2022, I added a bunch of stuff that was already in the Irvine folder. That way I may have done some extra stuff here, but anything that says 32 in the file head, file name, I just hold Control, I click, and I right click and I say copy, and then I dropped them all inside of this folder as well. I don't know if I had to do that, but I did, and it made me feel good because it actually got stuff going for me. Alright, so I'm going to come down here. We're going to look at add to. Now I can close this. I'm going to Visual Studio 2022. So inside of Project 32 VS2022, that downloaded zip folder is project.sln. If you open that, it should look a little bit like this. Now, yours might not, and that's okay. Typically, this will be the first thing that you see because this is the only file that's been added to it. There's a bunch of extra stuff in there that you normally see for C++, like headers and a couple other things. And on this side, you can right click and delete those out. They're not necessary and they just get in the way. Alright, so if you have add to pulled up, and you should, if you click run, it should build. You should see something like this as an output. Exited at code 0. Now you can see I have a breakpoint set here in the bar. If I go up to local Windows debugger and run it, it's going to run and stop at this line of code. Now what you're going to want to do, I can see the registers down here, but if you can't, you're going to want to change that because it's very important for us later on down the line. So you're going to go to debug, Windows, and you're going to want to say, dang it, I keep losing this stuff. Debug, Windows, and you go down to registers. You can use memory as well, and you can also use a watch window. This will be helpful too. But registers is going to show you what's happening behind the scenes. Alright, now we have our debugger running, and this is part of the tutorial. They're going to ask you to step into the next line of code. We can see we've moved the integer 5 into EAX register. So after this line of code executes, you're going to see that this changed down here to 5. And after you hit F11 again or step into, you're going to see that 6 was added to it. And if we are familiar with hex code, we will know that B is 11. And then this program exits. Add to is pretty simple, and we know that this is a working file. I'm going to stop the debugger here. Now your window might look a little different. We'll get to that in a moment. Things that I've done to help make sure that this always works. I went to this line here, project, I right click, I went to add, I went to existing item, and I directly added Irvine32.library inside of our project folder. This just kind of reduces the chance for errors. I don't want to put this in here a second time, but know that for me, this worked. For you, try it. Hopefully it does the same thing it did for me that I'm hoping it does for you. Okay. Now, we have add to. I'm done working with this. So I'm going to exclude from project. I don't want to work with this file anymore. So you can see it's gone. One of the key benefits too of having Irvine32.library is that I get to find out a little bit about what each of these commands that are inside of this library that Irvine created for us does. This will be helpful down the line, so I do suggest you look through it inside of your Visual Studio here, because these little comments are going to help us figure out how to get through our projects later on down the line. Okay? Please do this. Now go here to project, right click. Now you can add, and you're going to want to say existing item. Well, let's back up for a second. So if we go back into our Project 32 VS2022 folder, if we go to add to, and we copy this and just paste it, you can rename this to something else. Okay. Now I'm going to go into add existing item. I'm going to find something else. I'm going to add it. Right, double click. Now we see that this is the same file that we were working with earlier, but I've named it something else. So if I go to build it or run it, we see that we have a working running program. That's great news for us. But this isn't the file that we're going to be working on. So once again, I'm going to exclude from the project. I'm going to show you kind of what I did and where I'm at. And hopefully you can get to where I am too. I'll go to existing item. We're going to add. And I think I named mine name, because we're supposed to do our name and some math inside of it. I see that we have our comments in the header. This is taken directly from the assignment page that we're supposed to turn in. Using the registers, you're supposed to change the values of A, B, C, and D, assign integer values to these different registers and add them up. Dump registers to the screen. Using the Irvine library, write the following string to the screen. My name is blah blah blah. Okay, so you notice that if I go here to, I'm going to add that file back in for a second. Existing item. If we have add to, I'm going to add this. If we look here, this region looks different than what I have here. All of this stuff that we're supposed to have included at the top of our file is part of the Irvine32 library. So I just said include Irvine32.inc. .inc just means include. So there is also inside of here Irvine32.inc. This include statement has all of this header information in it, so when you include it, you don't have to write it in your new files. So we have our data section where we store our variables and what type they are and their values. This question mark just means it's an empty kind of variable and it's going to do whatever we need it to do. So we're going to move. This is from a different project that I saw built online. I was just trying to make mine look cool, so don't worry about that. We're going to move values from EAX into from variable 2 into this register, etc., etc. I'm going to set a breakpoint, probably about here. I'm going to run the local debugger. It's giving me errors, probably because this is in here too. Exclude. Now I'm going to try to build it again. Okay. So we have our registers. We're going to see that variable 2 is about to fire off in this next statement. And it has the value 8,000. We're going to step into the next one. We're going to see that variable 3 was added to variable 2. And we have a new hex value in here. And if we just keep going through the program, EBX has a new value of 1000, which matches here. So we did another addition here, variable 5. So 6,000, so 5 and 1,000 is 6,000. So we're doing the math that is required. I'm going to call write hex, so this outputs to the screen. And your ending value should be 4,000 if the math is done correctly. All right, I'm going to just say var1, which is right here. This was our question mark variable, and this is going to be moving whatever variable 1 is. The register EAX is getting it's going to overwrite variable 1, and that's the value for EAX. And when we call dump registers, it should output that to the screen. Offset, write string, get text color, etc., etc. This is just me being me. I'm a little extra. All right, so I'm gonna stop this. If I run the program, this is my output. This is what write hex does. It outputs this directly here. This shows our dump registers, which is all of this. Okay. Other things that you might want to be aware of when you run the debug. You can go here to Windows. You can add watch. And this will show you the variables, the different registers as you step through the program. It shows you that it's an unsigned int, etc., etc. Now you can also change the type, I think, somehow. But I haven't figured that out. I need to do a little bit more work here. You can also show the memory. Now if you do the address of whatever EAX is, it should show you something a little different. This shows you the address. You can tab through, see all your stuff. Okay. This is just little stuff. It's a pretty simple program, and I hope that you guys can get this running. I'm going to show you one last thing that I found. I will add the link somewhere in my Discord or possibly like in the video description. I'll figure that out in a moment, but we're going to look not here, not here either. We're not worried about Calc 2. So you're going to go to VS2022 GitHub. You're going to search this, and you're going to go into here. And you're going to click here for asmdude vs2022.zip. Once you download it, you can unzip it. I don't remember where I unzipped it at actually. Let's see. Let's have a look. Where did it go? Well, I know that that's there. ASMDude. Well, it's gonna open an installer when you try to unzip it. Just accept all the settings. And trust me, it'll be okay. What it's going to do is it's going to alter the way that your Visual Studio looks so that when you hover over things, it gives you a little bit of description for some of it. And this can be helpful as we're figuring this stuff out for the class, because typical machine code and Irvine, like on its own, doesn't have this extra tidbit of information. I think that the ASM dude, he also implemented a little bit of like IntelliCode, IntelliSense in here, so there might be a little bit of autocomplete. I do know that as far as things go, I had to go into options and I had to go to fonts and colors and I had to scroll through and change a few of these because as you can see, like certain colors might be hard for you to, discern, especially when he uses like dark blues. If you're using like the dark theme for VS2022, you might be having some difficulty reading it. So just float through the ASM dude settings, make sure that this machine code stuff that we're working with all has colors that'll make it easy for you to read in the future. Okay? Hopefully that's all you're going to have to worry about. Um, if you can't get it running, I don't know, maybe reach out to the professor, or if I have some time, reach out to me. If I can hop onto a call, I will. If I missed you, I apologize. I've been dealing with some things outside of here. My phone isn't working at the moment because I tried to switch services or carriers or something. So I'm a man without a network right now, so to speak. So I'll get back at you guys here in a little bit. And if you have comments, questions, let me know. And I say good luck to you. Thanks for watching. All right, bye.